Hello, I'm Mark Uncapher, filling in this week for Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, how will the Iran deal impact the Maryland Senate race? More controversy about the Confederate statue in front of the Rockville courthouse. Virginia has a way for Maryland to ease congestion on our side of the beltway. And are Maryland crabs really Virginia crabs? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders give you the story behind the story. We're joined by former state senator and Ehrlich administration cabinet member Jean Roesser, former majority leader of the Maryland House of Delegates, Jean Hurson, and somebody never at a loss for words, Republican businessman Jerry Cabe. Stay tuned for these stories and more on 21 This Week next. This week, Congresswoman and U.S. Senate candidate Donna Edwards renewed her criticism of fellow Democrat and Congressman Chris Van Hollen for failing to support the pending nuclear deal with Iran. She said Van Hollen, quote, continues to hold his finger to the wind and flirt with the same position as Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. John, I'm assuming that Cruz and Trump comparisons are pretty rough stuff in a Democratic primary, maybe even a low blow. But however, Chris has finally come out and taken a side on the issue and says he will support the deal. What is your take, and how big an issue could this be?
I think it's actually going to be a big issue. In Maryland, you have a very significant, in the Democratic primary, a very significant Jewish vote. So the allegiance on this issue with where the Jewish vote is going to be is actually a big deal. Chris is very careful. I mean, one of the things, and full disclosure, I'm a supporter of Chris for the Senate. I actually think he got the background that makes him careful about these issues. This is a huge diplomatic issue. His father was an ambassador in the, overseas. Chris was born in Karachi, Pakistan. I mean, he has a background in foreign policy that I think makes him careful, which I think is a good thing. And I actually think it would represent the state very well. So I think that's why he was a little more reticent to just jump in. But I think he's doing the right thing. I think Donna's doing the right thing. I think they're supporting the deal. I think it makes sense. I don't think there's an alternative that makes any sense. So, that's
Jerry, the likely, or at least one likely Republican candidate, Richard Douglas, not only opposes the deal, but he has experience working at the Department of Defense and on the staff of both the Senate Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee. Could this Iran issue give him some traction, given the Democratic nominee is now likely to have supported the deal?
Richard's a great guy, would be a great candidate and a great senator. The problem is education. The populace of Maryland is not well educated enough on history to see the corollaries here. Now, the Jewish community is very focused on it, and so is a lot of the conservative community. But I remember watching movies of World War II, and some German soldier would say, "Oh, I didn't know that the Nazis were all that bad." And I was like, "Did you read the book? The guy wrote a book called Mein Kampf and said what he was going to do and did it." For 35 years, the Iranians have been telling everybody who would listen and wouldn't listen that they want to kill us and the Israelis. So doing anything at all that would help them do that is complete insanity. It's history repeating itself. It's a terrible position to do it. To do it for political reasons, I have no idea, and there are alternatives, and that is tighten the screws on the Iranians. But this is one of the worst deals, and is going to have one of the worst ramifications in history. But I don't know if it's enough traction to take Richard over the top, but I wish it would.
Speaking of history, the Confederate statue in front of Rockville Courthouse continues to generate controversy. Ike Leggett has asked that the statue be removed. In Talbot County, the NAACP branch wants to remove the statue from their courthouse. And this week, the statue in Rockville was spray painted with Black Lives Matter graffiti. Jean, should Montgomery County keep that statue up as long as it's up with the graffiti there that Black Lives Matter?
I think that it is an act of vandalism, and it is unacceptable. And I believe that the statue should be cleaned up and as quickly as possible, or perhaps they can make that move as quickly as possible to eliminate, to kill two birds with one stone. But yes, it is unacceptable behavior, even on a Confederate statue.
John, 600,000 Union soldiers died preserving the Union and ending slavery. Should we replace the Confederate memorial with one just for them, or should we have at this time, a memorial for all the people who died in the Civil War?
I actually think we should have a memorial for everybody who died in the Civil War. I think we all have to sort of accept history. This country had a very, very difficult time in the 1800s in the Civil War. Lots of people dedicated their lives to whichever position they were in. Clearly, the people who defended slavery in the South were wrong. But at the same time, we have to recognize the fact that lots and lots of families have that history. And we need to recognize and honor them for the sacrifices that they made, for what they believed in. I think there's a way to do this. I think we can come together as a country to do this. I think we come together as a county to do this. Maryland was, a very marginal southern state. The largest loss of life that took place in one battle in the Civil War was in this state. So I think we need to think about how to treat that, and I don't think it's a simple solution. So I think everybody needs to sort of come together on this issue and think about it. I honestly believe that there's a way to do this and bring people together over part of our history, which is real, and we're not going to change it. It's part of our history. So,
I actually have a different point of view. I think we should destroy all the Confederate memorials and anything made out of stone that has to do with the Confederacy, and we should import the people that really know how to do that kind of thing. We should get illegal immigrants from the Taliban, because they're great at destroying history. I know that sounds ridiculous, but let me tell you what's really ridiculous.
Yes, it does.
We have issues in the black community that need to be addressed, and this is the old magician's trick of look at my left hand while I do something with my right hand. The murder rate in Baltimore is going up. It's run by the Democratic Party for 60 years. Wherever they have run cities that have a high concentration of minority population, things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. And what are we talking about? The color of a flag on top of a stick or a rock. We should be talking about the issues to make lives better in the black community and completely ignore this nonsense. It is a magician's trick, and we're all being bamboozled into it.
Well, I think, Jerry, you've got the last word on that. We're going to bring the Taliban in. When we come back from this short break, we'll talk about Virginia. Do they have a solution to gridlock? And are Maryland crabs really Virginia crabs? The Virginia Department of Transportation is proposing to Maryland that we extend the high occupancy toll lanes that they've already built on their side of the Beltway and extend it across the American Legion Bridge right to the edge of 270. Jean, building these toll lanes, is it a good idea, or are they just for the rich who afford enough to pay the charge?
Well, they seem to be working in Maryland and getting a significant number of drivers off the regular HOT lanes. So it does make sense, and I do like the idea of Maryland and Virginia getting together to discuss discuss ending it, but I wonder, once all this crush comes over, what happens on the Maryland side?
They'll probably have to extend it to 95 from 270.
And but I do think it merits discussion.
Jerry, you're very familiar with just how unpopular building another Potomac River crossing would be, especially one stretching perhaps from 370 or the ICC across the river to Dulles. But you know, it turns out that Donald Trump has a golf course on the Virginia side that might be along that path. Do you think building a road through that golf course would make it more palatable to people?
I'm going to answer that, but first I have to put out a disclaimer. I worship the ground Jean walks over, but I disagree with you on this topic. Today I had to drive from Gaithersburg to Dulles, and I had to go in a big horseshoe to get there when I should have been able to drive right across. Now, these toll roads don't work. They just help people who drive Lexus and BMW and can afford these. The ICC is the most underutilized road in the state of Maryland. If it was free, it might free up some of the traffic for the people sitting on the beltway. If we had the outer loop to the beltway that my father told me we needed when I was 12 years old, then two things would happen. People would be able to get to and from work, be with their families, and it would also cut down on bad language. Because if we cut it through Trump's golf course, the people on the beltway wouldn't be stuck in traffic using bad language, and we'd have less people playing golf, and the people I play golf with, all they do is use bad language. So it would be nothing but good.
I just don't know how to respond to that.
Well, I know how to respond to it, and to say, with all due respect, Jerry, for all of your reasoning or unreasonably, I think you're wrong. I think that we have a unique preserve in Upper Montgomery County. I can tell you, when I go into the state of Virginia at Tyson's Corner, I can't get back to Maryland soon enough. It is so overdeveloped, and just everything paved over, high rises, yeah, economic development. But I believe Maryland has a far better quality of life. And when I go from congested 28 over to the Agricultural Reserve, it's just like, it's literally a breath of fresh air in the Washington region.
Can I just
you got a handful of people that can enjoy traveling through the Agricultural Reserve, but you have tens of thousands of people that have to live in Frederick County instead of living closer in because we're trying to maintain this as an agriculture.
Can I just moderate between our two Republicans here for a second?
This is dangerous.
I actually think there's a middle ground here. I don't think you need to lose the agricultural reserve that we have in Potomac, but also
no, it's Upper Montgomery County.
Upper Montgomery County. Upper Montgomery County. I agree with that. But I actually think there's a way to create more places to go over the river to Virginia. I don't think it makes sense. You go to any other major city in the country, they've got a lot more bridges that go across their big rivers. And we have like 5, and
a lot more congestion over any bridge you build and they will come.
But I think there's a way to do that, Jean. I really do.
We have another Virginia Maryland topic. Marylanders are used to competing with Virginia economically, as we just heard. But Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe upped the ante this week by saying that since blue crabs are born in Virginia, they should be called Virginia crabs, or rather Virginia crabs and not Maryland crabs. Governor Hogan's spokesman said that, like most Virginians with any sense, eventually the crabs move to Maryland. Jean, waters are much more inviting and hospitable. John, is the governor doing enough to protect the state's honor?
He is not only doing enough, he is absolutely right on. I mean, he should take on the Democratic governor of Virginia and actually challenge him to some kind of crab feast. Which I think would be the right thing to do. Terry McAuliffe, who is a friend of mine, is absolutely wrong on this topic. These are Maryland crabs, and we will fight to the death to protect them.
Well, it sounds like there could be another war between the states, Jean. Could that start over crabs?
Well, I doubt it very much, but apparently the facts are there that the the crabs actually originate in Maryland and Virginia, but they can't take Virginia, so they get themselves over to Maryland, where we know how to cook them, and we have the reputation of being for our blue crabs, and that's going to stay that way.
Jerry, has Virginia finally gone too far?
It's much worse than that. Virginia has a real war on women. Because if you know anything about crabs, what they do when the female crabs become pregnant, they go down to southern Virginia and they burrow in the mud to hibernate until they come up and birth them babies. And the problem is, Virginia dredges up mama crab. And that's bad for the crab population. It's bad for crabbers. It's a bad thing to do in Virginia. You need to stop that war on women. Crabs or no crabs.
And here I thought we were going to stay away from Planned Parenthood on the show tonight.
Probably parting shots.
There you go. Stay tuned for parting shots. And thank you. With parting shots, we'll start with John Hurson.
So I have two parting shots. One is to do a shout out, first of all, to the Gazette newspapers. They have been in the political life of Montgomery County for many, many years. It is a shame to see them go, but I want to congratulate them for the years that they had. They did a wonderful job of covering local issues very specifically. I think we're all going to really miss them. We need something to replace it. I know that newspapers, the actual stuff is not, the actual newspaper stuff is not really where everybody is anymore, but we need something to replace that. And as much as I think the Washington Post is a great institution and a wonderful organization,
which is shrinking,
we need this local paper. We used to have the Journal. The Journal is gone. Remember the Journal, Gene? Anyway, long story short, that's my first. My second shout out is to Ike Leggett. I mean, I think Ike is doing the right thing on this, statue and trying to get rid of it. And I think he's sort of out there a little bit beyond his authority to ask them to remove it, but I think he's doing the right thing. I think he's showing some leadership. So,
Jerry,
I'm going to have two shout outs. John gets to have two. I want two too.
Leave some
both
for
kind of
me.
have the same thing. Things are underappreciated. Larry Hogan blows me away. He makes nothing but the right decisions. His demeanor is fabulous. He has done an unbelievable job dealing with a very difficult situation with the riots in Baltimore and having to deal with the Democrats in the legislature, which might be worse than that, and all of the situations, and now dealing with cancer. And his demeanor is so incredible. I've just never met an Irishman who kept his bombastic tendencies under wrap like that. It's amazing. And the other thing I'd like to shout out, and I hate to finish on a positive note, it's very atypical and hard for me, but everybody told me how great it was to be a grandparent. And 6 months ago, Hunter Aiden Cave was born, who I have renamed Baby Gumbo. And when I was holding that little baby and rocking him to sleep, singing him bawdy rugby songs, it was the greatest thing in the world. So as great as they say being a grandparent is, when you get one, you find out they undersold it.
Jean Roesser.
I want to do another shout out to little Zion Harvey, the little 8-year-old that underwent a double hand transplant a while back, recently, and is now in intent. And he is from Owings Mill, Maryland. The operation took place in Philadelphia Children's Hospital. And this little guy came through it. It was a 10-hour operation. He had lost his limbs because of a bacterial infection that caused gangrene. But anyway, he comes out with this wonderful, positive attitude. And I think the whole nation is wishing him well in his recovery, which is good. So far so good, but very intensive. A remarkable boy.
That's a heartwarming heartwarming story to tell. And Jerry,
Well
you
said.
don't. I just got to say, you don't look like a grandparent. Even with the white hair,
You're too young.
you just look like you're way too young to be able to do that.
Well, the only thing I can say in regards to that is you're only young once, but you can be immature forever.
Very good.
I like that.
Prove every day. So,
Thank you, panel, and thank you for tuning in to Montgomery County's hardest hitting talk show. We'll be off for the rest of August, but you can stay in touch with us before September and by staying connected with us on social media sites. I'm Mark Uncapher, and for everyone here at 21 This Week, have a great summer, and we'll see you in September.